Well, good morning, Jeff.
Good morning at Bounce Hit, Bounce Hit.
It's a lovely day in the neighborhood, isn't it?
It is. It is.
I know a lot of our northeastern colleagues have been complaining about the heat and humidity.
Yeah, they've been hit pretty hard.
They must imagine the South is some sort of boiling witch's cauldron this time of year.
Yeah, yeah, we've been dodging the rain, or getting the afternoon rain, but enough to get the tennis in.
How would you describe what it feels like out here on the magical clay court today, Jeff?
It's pretty nice. Slight breeze, but nothing to affect the ball, and humidity's down below 100%, so like at 85. So that's pretty dry conditions for us. But temperatures in comfortable 80s.
It's a lovely day, and it's a lovely day to talk about a trio of angel rackets that I just happen to have right here in my hands. There's been a lot of interest. You know, the Angel Thread lights up every time I log on to Tennis Warehouse. There's multiple new posts.
You're the guardian angel.
I can't claim that. I really would shout out to our friend Backhand Compliment. I think he's really led the charge.
He could be guarding the gates.
He is. He's like St. Peter in a way.
Yes.
Sort of determining and sort of directing traffic there. I know he gives a lot of, I think, sound advice about which angel might suit you best.
Yeah, he's very well versed on.
He is.
The angel owner.
He is. And so today we have the Angel TC100 frame in a 70 RA. And you may recall I previously hit this.
And we should give a shout out, compliments of at Topspin.
At Topspin. And I believe we were graced with a 63 RA 100 at one point that came from our good friend, who I think you've actually played some tennis with, at Dan Man.
Yes, at Dan Man.
At Dan Man. So at Dan Man, thank you. At Topspin, thank you. And these are actually my personal TC95 and TC97 frames. So I guess today what we're going to do is a little on-court review with an emphasis on the TC100.
Yep.
But we're going to talk about some comparisons to the TC90, TC95, 97. And at Jeff, we also want to shout out to Advanced Racket Design, right?
Yes.
Our friends in Pennsylvania, I believe, who were kind enough to send along a 90 for review that, of course, Jeff customized. So we're gonna mix it in, even though I don't have the actual frame. We returned it. It was a loaner frame, so we returned it promptly to let others have an opportunity to deal with such a fine frame. Now, at Jeff, one of the things that's come up is people have asked about why do you, I know in your upcoming Federer review, you're going to be customizing the frame to your specifications, and why have we elected to customize my frames all to the same spec? Because you're really in charge of that preparatory phase of things.
Yeah.
What would you say to the folks at home who are wondering about why make every racket the same to begin with?
Yeah, I know there's a lot of debate about should you play test a racket, in stock form, should you play test it to your preferred specs? And you and I feel strongly that it's better to play test it to your preferred specs, everywhere from grip size to overgrip to string type to tension to swing weight, static weight, balance. That's pretty much everything. And that way you eliminate the variables, so that way you're able to isolate, is it the racket that I like or is it not? And then you can go from there and say, well, maybe I like this racket, but maybe I need to tweak the specs a little bit. But if you start with something totally different than what you're used to, in our opinion, is that there's just too many variables and it's just even that much more guesswork.
Yeah, well said, and I totally agree. I think that what it really allows you to do, and I think you give you credit for really pointing this out and teaching me this, is it allows you to actually test the frame as opposed to test a new spec.
Yeah, you're isolating the head size and you're isolating the flex of the frame.
Yeah.
Perfectly said.
Yeah. So that having been said, I've really enjoyed all the Angel frames, and I think that they're more alike than they're different in a lot of ways. My sense of it has been that the TC90 with the smaller head was the most demanding of the group, and I played a small head for a very long time and enjoyed it. But I found it a challenging frame to play consistently well. Hitting with it was a joy, but when people started running me around the court and making me hit difficult shots, it was a challenge. Although the serve was certainly a standout. The first flat serve in particular served about as well with that frame as with any I've ever picked up. So those of you who've got the fitness and the racket skills and are aiming high in your tennis career, the TC90 could very well be for you.
Yeah, it's one of the few 90s still left available.
A handful of 90s still available, and grommets, and you can buy them indefinitely.
Yes.
As long as Paul Angel is out there, the 90 will be out there. Yep. So I enjoyed it very much. The TC95, I guess, next in the head size lineup, slightly larger bed. For me, I think at the end of the day, the TC95 wins out in overall category. I don't know that it necessarily outshone, for example, the TC97 in a combination of flat and spin serving. I think the TC97 worked a little bit better for me. But in terms of being able to play the game and return well and have a lot of confidence off both ends or both sides on the ground, I felt like the TC95 gave me that, and it's a superb balling stick. And great flex and feel. And against that family resemblance, Jeff, I would say one of the biggest family resemblances is this consistency of flex over the long axis of the frame, or the longitudinal axis. A lot of frames, I don't know what your experience is with maybe some of the older Volkel frames come to mind in particular, where they were flexible, but there was a distinct point on the frame where they flexed.
No, I agree, and I think it depends on what you like for feel-wise. I mean, some people like a more flexible head, some like more flexible in the throat area. I mean, you and I like pretty similar frames, and like more consistent throughout, tending probably a little bit more towards the stiffer, but not going in the 70 plus range too much.
Right. And frankly, at age 54, and I guess 56 now, I've run up against some problems I never experienced before with some of those stiffer frames. So in terms of forearm and wrist discomfort. So I've shied away from them. And certainly the TC95 strung, I believe we measured on the RDC at 58. Right on spec. Yep. And then under close examination today is the 100, and I guess what I would say is the 100 may be a frame I could see myself migrating to when I'm a little bit older, because I think it's the most forgiving of the frames, as you would expect it to be. It is, for me, not quite as comfortable off the ground in terms of the head size. I don't know that I can get fully comfortable, particularly with my one-hand backhand, with a larger head size. It doesn't feel right to me, and that's a very subjective thing, but those of you who played with smaller heads over the years probably know exactly what I'm talking about. But I certainly enjoy hitting with the racket. I think it shares the family feel and serves really well. Lots of pace, in fact maybe a little too much pace for my liking, because not unlike the Pure Aero and the Federer frame, it was a little hard for me to rein in some of that pace on the serve, and I was seeing my first serve percentage fall, which in fairness could be as much me wanting to just hit a big old nasty serve as the frame. But when I would pop them in there with it, it felt oh so good. I think I was being reinforced for a bad strategy serving. So we won't put all the blame on the racket. We've got to hold some responsibility.
Just a little.
Exactly. Well, Jeff, I guess we should then take to the court for some hitting.
Sounds good.
And I think we talked about, maybe just doing some, cross-court hitting for a bit. I think everyone's seen us play. So we'll do that, and then maybe take a few volleys and overheads, and perhaps, maybe even hit a few swerves.
Okay, sounds good.
Does that sound good?
Works for me.
All right, let's do it.
All right.